Hi everyone, it's Meg. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. I'm really excited to record today because I was gifted a mic. So if the audio sounds better, it's because of it. I usually just record with my computer, so it's like the default microphone and the default camera. So if it's not that good, it's because of that. But today is different because we have a pretty good mic. Today's case is about the Menendez brothers, who recently earned a platform on TikTok and Instagram for being the hottest criminals. There's obviously a lot of controversy surrounding their case because a lot of people are giving their opinions, saying that they don't deserve to be in jail because they're so cute and hot or whatever, without actually knowing what these brothers have done. So I'll let you guys be the judge of it after hearing this case. So without further ado, let's get into the case of the Menendez brothers. Our story starts with Jose Menendez being born on May 6 in 1944 in Cuba. In the 1980s, when he was 16 years old, he moved to the U.S. during the Cuban Revolution, living in the attic of his cousin's home, and it's kind of like he lived out the American dream because he ended up being really successful. We'll get into that later. He attended Southern Illinois University, where he then met his future wife, Mary Louise Anderson, also known as Kitty, and she was a beauty pageant queen, very gorgeous. Kitty also kind of formulated the American dream, where she started off as just washing dishes and ended up being a very successful entertainment executive. In 1963, the two of them married and moved to New York City, where Jose earned an accounting degree from Queens College. On January 10th of 1968, Jose Lyle Menendez was born, but he goes by his middle name, Lyle. From here, Kitty quit her teaching job after Lyle was born, and they all moved to New Jersey. On November 27th of 1970, Lyle's brother was born, Eric Menendez, and the boys attended Princeton Day School. Eric was kind of the shy, quiet guy, while Lyle was a little more out there, but still kind of pretty shy. In 1986, Jose's career as a corporate executive moved the family to Beverly Hills, which was known as the most expensive block in Beverly Hills. People like Elton John and Michael Jackson lived on the street as well. Jose was the head of the RA Records and signed brands such as Duran Duran and the Eurythmics. Never heard of that band before. Basically, the Menendez family were pretty well off, very wealthy, living on the Beverly Hills street, and both parents were very successful. In 1987, Eric began high school at Beverly Hills High, where he earned pretty average grades, pretty average student, but he was really good at tennis. He was actually 44th ranked in the U.S. of children under 18 years old, and he was nationally ranked. Lyle was also a star tennis player and was known as destined for success due to his father being so successful. Some people say that the kids basically had no choice but to be successful because of how hard Jose, their father, pushed them, and how successful he was. He wanted them to follow in his footsteps, so he was a tiger parent, very similar to our last case of Seth, the Gonzalez family murders. Eric began involving himself with the wrong crowd and hanging around some delinquents of his age, and he was actually nabbed for burglary twice in 1988. And side note, he was also really interested in screenwriting and did some screenwrites in his diary or journal at home. Not really anything big. Lyle was in Princeton, and he also got suspended at one point for plagiarism. On August 20 of 1989, the boys went out for a movie night, and when they came home later that night, Lyle found the bodies of his two parents, gruesomely shot to death. So he automatically called 911, shouting, "Someone killed my parents."
What's the problem? What's the problem? Someone killed my parents. Pardon me? Mom and my dad. Your mom and dad? My mom and my dad. Okay.
When the police department came, Lyle and Eric said that they were watching Batman at the movie theater in Santa Monica, and then afterwards they went to the Taste of LA food festival, and they were out all night. In the coming months, Lyle bought a Rolex Porsche Carrera and a Chuck's Spring Street Cafe buffalo wing restaurant. Sort of random, but I guess it was to earn a little bit more money on the side. I guess it was a really successful restaurant as well. Eric hired a full-time tennis coach, and he did competitions in Israel, so he traveled quite a bit. They left the mansion unoccupied, and they got adjoining condos in Marina del Rey, which I guess isn't out of the ordinary if your parents were killed in your childhood house. Why would you want to live there and stay there? So they kind of just wanted to get away from the murder scene and got 2 different condos adjoining. They drove around LA with their deceased mother's Mercedes-Benz SL convertible, and they dined very expensively, very lavishly, and they went on overseas trips to the Caribbean and London. And over the coming months between the murders and this time, they spent around $700,000 doing all these things that they were doing. This did catch the police's attention as kind of odd that your parents just died and you're not grieving. You're just going on all these trips and driving your deceased mom's Mercedes-Benz and spending a whole lot of money. However, these spending disputes were pretty much written off by the family because their family said that they've always spent this way. So their aunts and uncles were saying, no, nothing's different. Lyle and Eric have always been very lavish spenders as well as their parents. So they're just continuing doing what they've done before. The police, on the other hand, were trying to narrow down who would kill the parents, if the parents had any enemies, or if the parents had any people who wanted their finances or like their money. They also invested some potential like mob leads, but the police did find the brothers the most likely to have killed their parents for financial gain. As we know, Eric likes screenwriting and he does screenwrites. One of the screenwrites written by Eric was about a boy who kills his own parents for money. They were pretty certain that Lyle and Eric had committed the murders, but they just needed a confession. So they convinced their childhood friend, Craig, who went to high school with them and also played tennis with Eric, to get a confession out of Eric. And so they wired Craig and sent him off into this public eating area where Craig and Eric were going to meet together to just hang out and eat lunch. When Craig asked Eric if he had killed his parents, Eric said no, but eventually Eric did confess that he killed his parents to his psychologist, Jerome Oziel. Oziel, instead of going to the police, he actually told his mistress, and then his mistress was unsettled by this and dumped him and then went to the police to tell them what Eric had said to him. Lyle was arrested on March 8th of 1990, and 3 days later, Eric was arrested as he came forward 3 days after his trip, 3 days after coming back from his trip from Israel. They confessed to the murder of their parents and basically said on August 20 of 1989, when Jose and Kitty were kind of sleeping on their Beverly Hill home's couch in this den area of the house, like a living room area, Lyle, when he was 21 years old, and Eric, when he was 18, came into the den with shotguns. Jose was shot first in the back of the head with a Mossberg 12-gauge shotgun. Kitty automatically awoke from the shotgun, and she was shot in the leg and fell, then shot several times in the arms, chest, and face, leaving her unrecognizable. One quote said that there was a contact wound to Kitty Menendez's face, and it blew out her left eye.
Normal kid.
Oh, Eric, you're a normal kid who killed your parents.
Yeah, I know.
You called the police, but at that point, you had already decided.
We had decided not to.
You weren't going to say anything.
We had decided that our feeling was not, we'll just explain what happened and it'll be okay. We were very stunned, and we felt that we would go to jail, obviously, and it was a selfish reason to just not want to have to go through that.
One mistake the police department did not make was that they did not have the boys undergo shotgun residue tests to find out if they had recently used a firearm. Honestly, I never knew this test existed. Like, they would basically just test to see if there was any like residue, a shotgun on them, which is, I think, a pretty smart test, but definitely something that's recent to modern day technology. They wouldn't have been able to do this before. When the boys were arrested, they were held without bail and separated, and on August 1990, Judge James ruled the tapes between Eric and Oziel admissible because Oziel stated that Lyle threatened the doctor-patient privilege. The proceedings were postponed for about 2 years until December 1992, where the boys were officially charged with first-degree murder of their parents. The court TV broadcasted the trial in 1993 on national television. The brothers' lawyer, known as Leslie Abramson, became known as the Menendez brothers' defender. Basically, the brothers were driven to murder their parents due to a lifetime of sexual abuse from their father over their entire life. And they described their father as a perfectionist and a pedophile.
Painful, torturous, and yet I admired him because he was so strong, and he was everything that success was.
When they were describing their mother, they described her as enabling, selfish, mentally unstable, an alcoholic, a drug addict, and apparently the mother encouraged the father's sexual abuse to the children. Well, I guess they're not children, but over the period of time since they were kids to their adult age.
He killed his parents because he could no longer endure their abuse and had to stop it.
Believe was the originating cause of you and your brother ultimately winding up shooting your parents?
Me telling Lyle that,
You telling Lyle what?
Your Honor, can I ask a leading question?
if you don't ask my dad.
Wait 1 second, Mr. Menendez. Okay, let me ask
No,
you.
he was in the process of answering, so there's no need to ask him.
Can you answer the question?
Yes.
Okay, it was you telling Lyle what?
My dad had been molesting me.
These allegations of sexual abuse were confirmed by the Menendez brothers' family, like aunts and uncles, where they said on multiple occasions they have witnessed the sexual abuse. Andy Cano, which was their cousin, said as a child Eric told him about the sexual abuse from his father, and he described it as a pee massage. Diane Mullen, which was also their cousin, told Kitty about Jose molesting the boys, and she said that that wasn't true and she just denied it. There was also physical evidence to confirm these allegations, where they raided the family's house and they found multiple Polaroids and pictures of the boys when they were younger and over a period of time naked and their genitals, and they were confirmed to be taken by the father. Their tennis coach said it seemed like Jose was so competitive. He was doing everything he could to make him better, but he was so completely overbearing, it had the opposite effect. Eric had much less confidence because he could never do anything good enough for his father. Eric's prosecutor, Lester Kuriyama, said that men could not be raped because they lacked the necessary equipment to be raped. And that's really not true. As we know, men could be raped just as much as women could. It's obviously not okay. And that's definitely something that's come to light in recent days, that, you know, men could just be raped, and it's terrible. It's a terrible thing. Lester was also saying that Eric was most likely a homosexual and that the rape and abuse was consensual, which I don't think so. I'm not defending the brothers, but didn't seem like it. Basically, the prosecution and the defense were going back and forth. The prosecution saying that it was consensual sexual abuse and that it was for financial gain. However, for the defendant, they were saying that it was not consensual and it was rape, and that's why the boys were driven to murder. A week before the murders, Lyle and Eric said that the sexual abuse started again, leading to several arguments and confrontations in the family. The father threatened to kill both Lyle and Eric if they told anyone about their little secret, which was the sexual abuse. They then found out that their father had rifles in his room, and so they obviously felt unsafe in their own house, so they decided to go get rifles of their own and shotguns of their own. On August 20 of 1989, the father closed all the doors in the house, and especially the doors in the den, and this is when Lyle and Eric became scared for their own lives and thought, this is going to be the day that our father is going to kill us. So for their own safety, they went and got their shotguns, loaded it outside, and that's when the killings happened, and they walked into the room and started shooting. Eric said, as I went into the room, I just started firing.
Now, after you entered the den,
I was just firing as I went into the room. I just started firing.
in what direction?
In front of me.
What was in front of you?
My parents.
Both brothers were convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy to murder, and in the penalty phase of the trial, they were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The jury decided that the abuse was not a factor in their deliberations, but they decided not to impose the death penalty because both brothers had no criminal record or history of violence prior to the murders of their family. However, unlike other juries in the previous trials, the jury in the penalty phase rejected the defense theory that the brothers killed their parents out of fear, despite all the evidence and the testimony, and they believed that they committed the murders in order to inherit their father's finances and wealth. The brothers were separated and put as a maximum security level, and they were segregated from the other prisoners as well, living very lonely lives away from each other. After 31 years apart, they finally were reunited, and when they saw each other, they just started crying and they hugged. It was a very happy moment, I guess, amongst all this chaos. On July 2nd of 1996, Lyle married Anna Erickson in a prison, but they divorced on April 1st of 2001. He married again on 2003 to Rebecca Sneed in a prison again. Eric married Tammy Sackerman on June 12th, 1999. They're still in prison, however, they're living their best possible lives in prison, obviously with finding love and getting married. This case is just a really complicated, sad case because, yes, I think that the brothers were driven not for financial gain because they were already pretty wealthy with their parents, but I think it was mainly because of how scared their dad was, and unfortunately, it's such a complicated situation where I don't even know what I would do if I was put in this situation. Because if they did go to the police instead of murdering their parent and the police just pass it off, which we have seen that in the past with past cases, you know, their father could just kill them right then and there because they told someone about the rape and everything. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. That's all I have on today's case. Again, I love to hear what you guys thought about it in the comments down below. Or if you just have any suggestions for future cases, please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching. Bye!